Welcome to Tournament Takeaway with Fish on a Heater, where we take a look at a battle and look at the decisions that we made during the battle, work out why those decisions were made and what effect they had, and then kind of learn from that in a way that we can take into future battles and become better battlers, build that ranking. Today is an example of something that happens quite a lot with my videos, and that is I set out wanting to make a certain point, and then as I study the battle, the point of the video becomes about a very different thing. In this case, I wanted to make a point on how better use of shields can affect the outcome of the battle. As I went about making the video, it became about something else, and the title of the video will probably give you a massive clue to that. This is against a trainer called Brad the Breeder, as you can see. It is another tournament. It's another battle from a tournament for Pokemon Go Radio, and I've had a couple of those in the past few weeks. I just keep having great, exciting battles in those tournaments. Let's see how this one went. What speed are we at? Yeah, let's speed that up there. Alright, so we start with Heracross versus Ampharos. Should have mentioned this is Forest Cup from May. My plan was lead the Heracross. If I don't get a favourable lead, then switch into Stunfisk. Now, obviously Stunfisk pretty hard countered by Ferrothorn. I was okay with that because those Mud Bombs against a Ferrothorn end up adding up a bit. I brought Heracross, Stunfisk, and Heracross, Stunfisk, and my own Ferrothorn, so I didn't have any other dedicated counter to Ferrothorn other than that Heracross at the front. So the idea was, also Heracross beat Blaziken during Forest Cup, which is a big deal. Do need some shields in play there. I think all you need is one shield, then you can like counter down Blaziken. But so if I got kind of in a position, obviously wanted the Heracross to go in against Brad's Ferrothorn, but if it couldn't do that, I could switch out to Stunfisk, hopefully draw out that Ferrothorn, do a heap of damage with that, and then I can make a decision on whether I want to keep building up energy on Heracross after that, or I could bring out my own Ferrothorn, take out the rest of his Ferrothorn, and then I've got a bunch of energy on that. So it really kind of depended on what I saw from Brad up until that point. So I decided to time out my switch here to catch a Thunder Punch. Obviously, with Heracross being so glassy, that Thunder Punch would have taken out a lot of damage. And as you can see, with Stunfisk triple resisting electric moves, that Thunder Punch did nothing on the Stunfisk. Now, to my surprise, Brad used his shield on the Mud Bomb from Ferrothorn. And he used another one. So it must have had some real big plans for that Ferrothorn. Brad, if you end up seeing this video, let me know in the comments what your plan was, what your thinking was. Brad's a good battler, so he probably would have known that I had Heracross there with a whole bunch of energy. Maybe he wanted to draw out my Heracross because he knew that it could cause some damage with an energy lead and with shields. I don't know, but I end up throwing the close combat and one-shotting the Ferrothorn, and with that 2-stage drop in defense, that Mantine comes out and slaughters the Heracross. Just crushes it. So now I've got one Ferrothorn with 2 shields against a Mantine and an Ampharos with no shields. And here's where I made some dumb decisions with my shields. Because Ampharos throws one, and I throw up the shield thinking, oh yeah, probably gonna get off a last-ditch Focus Blast. Ends up being Thunder Punch. Gets to another charge move. I throw up the shield again, probably another Focus Blast, no, it's Thunder Punch. The reason that was not a good decision is because we can go back and look at it. There was nowhere near enough energy for a Focus Blast. There was no worry. Nothing I had to worry about. Brad was only ever getting to a Thunder Punch. And so I can now take out the rest of that Mantine and I win the battle. Unfortunately, my bag is full, so I can't capitalize on that. So, what should we look at first? Let's look at the difference that it makes. Before we get to the whole energy thing, let's look at the difference it makes when Brad keeps his shields, doesn't use them on the Ferrothorn. I enlisted the help of a player from my local community. Her name is Lily last name, and she is a fantastic battler. Her very first tournament that she played with our local community, she won. She went 3-1, and the only one she lost was against me in the first round, and that was. Not only was that a 2-1 battle, but it also involved a tie in there as well. So it was like 2-1-1, essentially. So she got as close to winning her very first tournament that she played as you possibly can. So yeah, I think I've talked about someone else in our local community called Wilbert, who is, I describe him as the Thanos of our community. If that is the case, then I think Lily last name is the Captain Marvel of our community. So I got her to recreate this battle for us. The only difference being what happens when Ferrothorn doesn't use those shields on the Mud Bomb. So again, we catch that Thunder Punch with the Stunfisk. Basically, the instructions are once the Stunfisk goes down, then pretty much open slather from there. You can do what you want after that. You can tell what's coming. Managed to get off one more Mud Bomb. Now, Lily in this case did have the advantage of foresight, so she knew I was going to bring out the Heracross, and so she fired straight into the Flash Cannon, which I didn't shield there. So now I've got this Ferrothorn against 3 Pokemon now, which is a little bit different from the original scenario, but the point that this battle will make still stands. So, she's still got both of her shields up. I throw a Power Whip, which she uses one of her shields on, and then she begins the debuffing. I'm not worried at all at this point, because, you know, we all know how much Bubble Beam does to a grass Pokemon. Especially one that's pretty tanky like this one. There's the second shield. I've still got both shields. That's 2 debuffs now. So, 2 or 3? I've already forgotten. If you don't know, the maximum number of debuffs that a Pokemon can get is 4, and you can see now I'm starting to get a little worried because I know I've been debuffed heaps, and I know she's still got her Ampharos in the back, so I'm like, oh, I need to start shielding here, but then I start becoming unsure of like, do I shield a Bubble Beam? And you can see how little that Power Whip does now. So yeah, she didn't even need the Ampharos in the end. So the most you can debuff a Pokemon in one battle is 4 times, and when it gets to that 4th time, that means the attack stat of the other Pokemon is half of what it originally was. So those Power Whips, by the end of it, were only doing half of what they normally would, and she was able to set that up by having her 2 shields in hand. It just meant that she could just slowly whittle me down with the wing attacks. She could shield those first 2 Power Whips, which were gonna obviously be the most damaging, and it became a very easy win in the end. So that was the point I originally wanted to make with the video, but then as I was looking through the video, I started to count up the volt switches that were happening from the Ampharos, and I could not for the life of me figure out how Brad got that much energy on the Ampharos. Let's take a look at it again. Let's slow it down to just 1 time for now. Alright, now, Volt Switch generates 16 energy per attack. That actually surprised me when I learned it a couple of weeks ago, because I was there thinking that it was a 12 energy move, which I think Confusion is 12 energy. Volt Switch is 16. Can be pretty hard to count. I've just memorized the number off the top of my head now, so it's 1 Volt Switch is 16, 2 is 32, 3 is 48, and 4 is 64. 16, 32, 48, 64. So just rote memory, that's called. So that's 1 Volt Switch, that's 2, and that's 3. And then the charge move comes out. So 3 Volt Switches, 48 energy. Thunder Punch takes 40 energy. So after this, the you know what? Maybe that's where I had it wrong. I'm gonna check this out. Thunder Punch, I'm sure, has 40 energy. Yeah, Thunder Punch costs 40 energy. So 3 Volt Switches, 48 energy, uses a Thunder Punch, and that brings it back down to 8. And then switches straight out, and we don't see it again until around this point. Yeah, so it comes out to catch the Ampharos. Alright, now let's slow that down. 1, 2 Volt Switches, and then throws a Thunder Punch. So at the moment that's fitting in with our maths, because 2 Volt Switches generates 32 energy. Already had 8 in the bank, so that brings it up to 40 again. Now we wait for the slowed down charge move animation to happen. Let's look at it further. That's 1 Volt Switch, 2 Volt Switches, and then throws another Thunder Punch. Where did that extra energy come from? I only count 32 energy there. And then it goes down. So my leading theory was that when a Pokemon first comes out, you don't often see their animation because, oh jeez, because I don't know, just the way the game kind of refreshes. Here, I believe the Ampharos is already throwing a move. It's just obscured by the animation of the Pokeball coming out. And let's just speed that up. Alright, but you can see here that health bar is already going down, which kind of supports that theory. But you can see those two really quick animations for the Volt Switch there, which means that the animation kind of caught up to that and accounts for that extra possibility of the move. So I still count the same number. Could there have been an extra Volt Switch thrown as it was coming out of the Heracross matchup? I don't know. Let's look at it again. One, two, three. Let's slow it down. Maybe, like, if we can see that Stunfisk's health go down a little more as the Ferrothorn comes out, then maybe that means that there was an extra Volt Switch thrown. No, nothing. I don't see anything there. And then the Bullet Seed comes out, and then the health bar goes down a little more. I don't know what is happening. As far as I could tell, Brad was 8 energy short of throwing off another Thunder Punch. Please help me. Otherwise, you are gonna end up seeing me in like a room with like scribblings all over the wall and just like twitching and muttering in my sleep. This is gonna drive me nuts. If you can tell me where that extra Volt Switch came from, please let me know. I got nothing else for you. That was Tournament Takeaway. Comment, subscribe if you want more murder mysteries, and come back in future weeks to try and learn some stuff and build that ranking. I'll see you later.